Okay, so let's jump right in. If you're a private chef, you know the magic is all in the details. But there's one detail that can quietly create a massive legal headache for your business: alcohol. So today, we're going to cut through all that confusion around alcohol licensing for chefs in England and Wales, so you can stay creative, stay compliant, and most importantly, stay out of trouble.
You know how it is. It feels like such a natural step for any creative chef, right? Offering a perfectly matched wine pairing to just elevate that whole dining experience. It seems like a simple, elegant touch. But we have to ask a really direct question. Could that simple offer actually land you in court?
The answer? A hard yes. And this is so important to understand. We are not talking about some minor paperwork issue here. Supplying alcohol without the right authorization is a criminal licensing offense, and the consequences for you and your business can be really severe.
And here it is. This is the single most important legal distinction, the one core idea you've got to grasp. The law couldn't care less about the hospitality part. Who's physically pouring the glass of wine? Its entire focus, its obsession, is on the commercial transaction. Who is actually selling the alcohol?
All right, so let's really break down this vital difference between just serving a drink and legally selling one. Honestly, getting your head around this is your first and most important line of defense.
So think of it like this. There are two completely different ways to play it. Look at Model 1 on the left. Here, the client buys all the alcohol, you just provide the service of chilling it, opening it, and pouring it. This is your safe zone, low-risk territory. But then, in Model 2, you buy the alcohol and the client pays you for it. The moment that happens, you've stepped into a high-risk activity that is very tightly regulated by law.
And let's be absolutely crystal clear what we mean by that high-risk Model 2. It's not just about adding a separate charge for a bottle of wine. It includes selling those wine pairings, providing cocktails as part of your overall package, or even just bundling the cost of the alcohol into your total menu price. If the client is paying you for it in any way, shape, or form, guess what? You are the seller.
So, the crucial point is this. The law in England and Wales, specifically the Licensing Act 2003, has a very precise trigger. It's called a licensable activity, and in our world that means the sale by retail of alcohol. This is exactly why that question, who sells, is the only one that really truly matters.
Okay, we've laid out the problem, so now let's focus on the solutions. The good news is that there are clear, established, and perfectly legal ways to manage alcohol at your events. Let's walk through the 3 safe paths to compliance.
These are your 3 options. First, the simplest. Stick to serving only client-owned alcohol. Second, if you're working in a place that's already licensed, you just operate through their license. And third, for those one-off events in unlicensed places, you can use something called a temporary event notice.
Let's start with Model A, because this is by far the cleanest and safest route. The client buys, owns, and provides all the alcohol. Your role is purely hospitality. Because you aren't the seller, you generally fall outside the scope of all those alcohol sales regulations. Simple as that.
Now from Model B. What if you're hired to cook at a venue that already has its own alcohol license? Well, the rule here is strict. Any and all alcohol sales must go through that venue's official licensing structure. You cannot operate your own informal, separate sale on the side. No way.
This brings us to Model C, which is the absolute key for any chef who wants to sell their own drinks package at a client's home. The tool for this is a temporary event notice, or a TEN. This is basically a formal notice you give to the authorities that legally permits you to sell alcohol at an unlicensed location for one single specific event.
Now, a TEN does have some important limits. The first one is about the number of people. Your event must have fewer than 500 people on site at any given time. And listen, that number includes you and all your staff.
And the cost to get this authorization? The standard fee is just £21. I mean, it's a very small price to pay to make sure your event is fully legal and you're avoiding those massive risks of an unauthorized sale.
Okay, now it's time to bust some myths. These are the common and very dangerous assumptions that can lead even the most professional chefs into some serious hot water.
This is probably the biggest and most widespread myth of them all. This belief that because an event is happening in someone's private house, all the commercial rules around selling alcohol just go out the window.
That is completely false. A private event and a license-free event are not the same thing at all. It is the act of selling that triggers the law, not the location. If you are the seller, you may need authorization, whether you're in a mansion or a modest kitchen.
Here's the second big misconception, and this one often comes from chefs who have already invested time and money in getting a personal license. They think it's some kind of golden ticket that lets them sell alcohol wherever and whenever they're hired to cook.
But that's not how it works. A personal license is powerful for sure, but it's not a roaming passport to sell alcohol. Its function is to authorize sales within a licensed structure, so either under an established premises license or a temporary event notice. It doesn't work on its own.
So, to pull all of this practical advice together, let's walk through a final checklist. I want you to think of this as your fixed, non-negotiable decision-making process for every single event that involves alcohol.
But first, just one last reminder of the stakes. Getting this wrong is not a minor admin error. An unauthorized sale of alcohol is a criminal offense. The penalties, as laid out in the Licensing Act, are severe. We're talking up to 6 months in prison, an unlimited fine, or both.
Okay, here is your process. Run through these questions every time. Who owns the alcohol? Who is selling it? Is the venue already licensed? Is a 10 needed? Who is authorizing the sales? Do you have age verification controls in place? If you're reselling, is your stock from an approved wholesaler? And finally, is the whole arrangement spelled out clearly in your booking terms? This should be a reflex, not an afterthought.
So if there is one single rule to remember from this entire explainer, it is this. This is your guiding principle. If the client owns the alcohol, your job is likely just service. But if you are selling it, you have to stop and treat it as a licensing question first, before you ever think about the hospitality side.
And that leaves us with a final question. Take a look at your diary, at the next event on your books where drinks will be served. After what you've learned today, can you say with total confidence that it is set up not just for culinary success, but for complete legal compliance?